Yeah, so this glass, Spiegelau, looking at you, is supposed to make these beers taste better. I think it's the beer, not the glass.
Yeah, I'd probably have to agree with you there. We've all had a bad beer too.
Um, but no, Fremont Beer, I'm looking at you, potential sponsorship. Love your beer. Spiegelau, your fucking glasses make beer taste so much better. Like a wine glass for beer. Eyes on you as well. Let's move some product. Anyway,
There you go.
with that being said, got a reoccurring guest, Collin Sturchio. What's happening?
What's up, man? How you doing?
Oh, doing all right. Welcome back to the Goonery for your second time.
Appreciate it.
Right
Life's
on.
still just as crazy as last time.
Yeah. So we
If not a little bit more.
yeah. It's just getting worse. Here to talk. The only sports going on, sports entertainment, WrestleMania. Assume you probably want to talk about that today.
Most definitely. The one thing I did find funny is I swear every time I come on, I happen to have some sort of
Oh,
NWO merch on, one way or another. I don't know how it tends to work that way, but it does.
that's what's up. That's what's up.
So,
Uh, who's
but
your
no,
who's your favorite NWO guy?
I always liked Nat, or I always liked Hall the best, in my opinion. He was just,
Yeah,
I mean, I like all three guys, but if I have to pick one, I've always just kind of gravitated toward him, probably because he was more of the worker out of anybody.
yeah, he's a cool dude. Um, with that, obviously you saw WrestleMania 36. What were your
For
thoughts?
sure.
What's your take?
Honestly, if I'm being completely dead ass honest,
Well,
it
that's
was
what
a
we're
lot
here for,
better than
unfiltered.
I expected. Like I
Yeah.
wasn't expecting anything memorable or anything great. And I loved personally the 2 night format. It made it a lot easier to watch with match after match after match because with the 3 hour format for Raw, it makes it sometimes hard,
Mm.
especially recently with the replays that they've been throwing in. But with this just being one thing after another, it made it blow by very fast. And like I know
Yeah.
I got done with night one and I was like, wow, it's only 10 o'clock. That's it. You wanted more by the end of it.
What?
It was the same with night two.
That was a big debate I saw over the weekend. Should it keep that 2 night format going forward or go back to one night?
See, I feel like this year it was smart too, mainly with what's going on. And if you're going to pre-tape stuff, it's easier to pre-tape it over 2 days, especially if it's in your own facility. But I liked it. I don't see them going to it. If they do, it won't be for a while. But mainly because they did the takeovers the night before instead. So unless you want to move that to a different day of the week, then you don't really have much of a chance.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it should go back to one night. I agree. Like,
I
you know,
think after this year it will, because I know I
yeah,
was listening to the pre-show, and Corey Graves made it like a point to say, this year's WrestleMania was too big for one night. Not every year's WrestleMania is.
yeah. Special circumstances. Usually they do something on Saturday, like with an NXT, so you might as well just migrate it to 2 nights.
Yeah.
With that said, what stood out to you?
The Boneyard match was amazing.
Yeah, the Boneyard match. That
That
was
was
great.
that was pure cinematic wrestling at its finest. And a way to present The Undertaker, a guy who I've loved my entire time being a wrestling fan, but he's way past his prime. Everybody knows it. But he
Right.
looked like a badass the entire time. He looked like a complete badass,
Yeah.
which is what you
Even
wanted. If this is his
sympathetic
last,
towards the end too, justifying his, over the top ass kicking of AJ Styles. That was a hell of a match.
it was. And to me, if this is really going to be his last go around at a WrestleMania, that's the way you want him to go out. You don't want him going out being a shell of himself. You want him to look like the badass he's always been.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that was like the big critique, right? He can only work, one night a year, and what we've seen is it's he's a little past
Or
his little past the
Or
prime.
if he does, you're in a match with like Goldberg and almost get dropped in your head, and that's just not the way you want to go out. I
Oh
love
my,
Goldberg, but that's
yeah.
not how you want to go out. So I say throwing him up against a guy like AJ is a great way to call WrestleMania a career. I personally think that with this being the 30th year anniversary of his debut, they'll do something at Survivor Series, and that'll be his last moment as a way to just ride off into the sunset on pretty much the 30th year anniversary.
You think? You think this is the year?
I think if there was any time too, this is the perfect year too, just because you had a kick-ass match at Mania, and it coincides with such a great year. They already did the 25th year anniversary, so if you want to do anything for him, why not just do a 30th? Because how many guys really stay around for 3 decades?
Well, that's my take on it. This guy seems to be the wrestler that just can't let go.
And in the beginning, I was agreeing with that. When he came back after the match with Roman at 33, I was a little ass hurt, personally. I thought that was the perfect way to call it a career.
Yeah.
Leave your hat and gloves and everything in the ring and just be done. And I mean, I was excited, especially being in the crowd in the build up to his and Cena's match. But that was a match you should have had probably 10 years earlier if you were really wanting to do it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so that kind of fell flat. And then he wasn't on last year's, which didn't do anything for it. So if you really wanted him to have something to say, this is what I want to show my kids, this is what I want my lasting legacy to be, I feel like the match with AJ is a great way too, and it gives a great rub to AJ.
Yeah. Yeah. I think this match kind of reinvigorated his career a little bit, and the fact that, like, he clearly, this is all he knows, this is who he is, and if there's a way to mask his inability to wrestle at this point through cinematic, I feel like they might run with this and give him a few more boneyard matches to extend his career.
I mean, to me, like, it wouldn't be something I'd truly be opposed to. It just honestly depends on what your story is leading up and who he's going against. If you're going to throw him in there with some chump, it doesn't work. But you want to throw him in there with top tier guys.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, two things. One, poor AJ Styles, do you think the burying alive was any metaphor to AJ's career? Or do you think he bounces back?
No, AJ, see, if this were 20 years ago, you might say that because he's in his 40s. But right now, being 42, I think is what he is, that's young to be a pro wrestler. You're hitting your stride. So, to me, no, I can easily see this being a thing where when he comes back, because I do see him taking time off after it, him coming back saying, I got my ass kicked. I bit off more than I could chew, and I fucked with the wrong guy. And I could see him turning back into a baby face. And if it really comes down to it, I have to give this credit to one of my favorite YouTubers, Good Mike Work, because he laid it out perfectly on his podcast where he said he could see the same thing going and then the OC attacking him and that leading to a feud, which would be the perfect way to turn AJ back into a babyface, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Right now, he looks like a chump who got his ass kicked.
Well, not only did he get his ass kicked, but it was 3-on-1.
But he had a shit ton of backup.
Yeah.
Got killed by one guy.
Yeah, that's a little hard to believe when Taker is like, oh, we're bringing the unholy trinity. I thought I was going to see like a Kane and someone else.
Yeah, like I think he meant that as more of a metaphor, but even I was like, I mean, the OC is going to be there, so there's got to be some form of backup for this guy.
Yeah.
No, he just literally went and kicked everybody's ass.
Yeah.
But no, night one, I really thoroughly enjoyed. I especially loved the ladder match. I thought it was a little weird to have a tag team title match with 3 guys, but for the circumstances you had, because I heard the reason why. They said The Miz got injured. I heard he had a fever.
Uh-oh.
I don't blame him for not having him on the card, but it's too late to pull that match. So if there's any loophole.
Wait, that was one of the matches
guys.
I glossed over. Did they not have The Miz in that? It was just
It was Morrison, Jey Uso, and Kofi Kingston.
Okay, I completely glossed over that. I don't
It
know
was
how.
a triple threat singles match for the tag title.
Okay. Yeah, I was paying attention to some other stuff. I just, when seeing a match like that, it's just hard for me to watch without a crowd because the whole point of putting your body through that sort of torture is to get a reaction.
Oh no, I totally agree with that, which is why I thought it was weird that they announced the ladder match after they were already in the fanless shows. But like me as a fan, I enjoy a ladder match here and there. It's not something I want to see every week or every month, but here and there I don't mind it. And the one thing I did kind of enjoy at points was you could hear the smack talk these guys were telling each other.
Yeah.
Like, I remember Jay just went and threw Kofi into a ladder, and he goes, "Take that, boy."
That was if we were gonna like really dissect the weekend, there were some highs and a lot of lows. But the highs
I would
definitely, I think they were pretty special highs. And one of them was the smack talking that you could hear. Like the Sami Zayn match was just so much better because you could just kind of, hear them. The AJ Styles Taker, just being able to hear the guys, kind of. That's what makes kind of. That's kind of back to the attitude days. You could kind of hear them interact with the crowd more. Hear them interact with each other.
Well, my thing is like probably my favorite match besides the Boneyard match all weekend was the Last Man Standing match. I heard a lot of guys bitch that it was too long.
Whoa. Fuck yeah, I was so pumped for that match. And it started out so fucking good. I'm like, all right, they're gonna take us through, like let's get out of this arena, let's get in the backstage, like I've never been so pumped for like outside of the ring action, than that Last Man Standing. But yeah, the critique was it kind of dragged on.
And for me, like at a certain point, I was like, I it wasn't like I was critiquing it, going, damn, how long is this gonna go? But I was just like, they've gone at least half an hour. Are they really going to give him 40 minutes? They gave him damn near close. It's 36.
Yeah.
But for me, like, the one thing I can say is I've been a huge Edge fan my whole life. And when the guy retired, that destroyed me. So to see him back, you can ask anybody who was around me. I was like a little kid in a candy store.
Yeah.
They sucked me in, hook, line, and sinker, and I was going with everything.
Oh yeah, no, that was it's great to see Edge back. He's one of those rare, has it all guys.
Well, and the thing is, he's not over the hill because he retired at 38, I think, something like that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think he said he's 46, so he might have retired at 36, but still, he's still relatively young if you look at it, and he's in the best shape of his life. So anybody you put him in there with, he's going to make look like a star. And he's working the Brock Lesnar type of a deal, which I think is good for him because he's still a huge name. You don't need him on week in and week out.
Right.
52 weeks a year at all. But when he's in, bring him in for the big matches. Bring him in for a SummerSlam. Bring him in for a WrestleMania. And he'll kick ass. And he doesn't mind doing the week shows to build up because that's his bread and butter.
Yeah, it's too bad that couldn't be in front of a crowd. Like that would have been a huge.
Yeah, I was as an Edge fan myself, I was so disappointed because that was when he came back. I went, I'm supposed to go to Raw on March.
How 30th. Ironic!
I finally get to see Edge, and it got ripped away from me, and that just like broke my heart.
I'm sorry about that.
But what can we do? Because we know he would have wanted to. But my thing is thinking about that match. I said it to my fiance. What could they have done in a football stadium with 80,000 people around? How would that match have been different? It would have been so different. It would have been dope. Who knows if it would have been better or worse?
Yeah, it would have been dope going through Raymond James Stadium instead of the WWE. Like,
dude, just the way
Performance Center.
Just the way that this WrestleMania looked, and with the theme that they had, I would have loved to have seen that with the pirate ship in the background. I would have loved to see the set they came up with.
Yeah.
Their sets normally, especially in a place like that, are gold. And from what I'm hearing now, because of everything that happened, they sound like the shoe in to get 38 in 2022.
Oh, good.
Which to me is the right thing to do, in all honesty. They're in close ties with Tampa Bay. They already have everything linked up with Hollywood for next year. So if you're going to try and make things right and you haven't announced, just go to Tampa.
Yeah.
You didn't do it in Raymond James and you're going back 2 years later. You had to do it in Orlando. You didn't really have much of a choice.
Yeah. Last note on Edge, the guy's got a neck injury, that he overcame. Is there any rumblings or like, is he good after?
Well, from what I heard, because I haven't watched the Edge 24 doc, which I'm planning to watch tonight. I've heard it's a masterpiece. But he said openly on the road to WrestleMania that once he retired, he got a second surgery done.
Right.
And he said, this is the first time in years I've never felt pain. And that was where the ball started to roll. And so I haven't heard anything saying that he's bad, that anything's bad. You could see him grabbing it and you could see him twinging his fingers, which may have been because of it and may have been just selling. Nobody knows. But from what I've heard, I think we all would have heard at least some rumblings by this point if it was aggravated.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about it. The Firefly Funhouse match. Can't believe we got 15 minutes in.
Oh, God. I loved it, but I was so confused, literally. I sat there and said, what the fuck am I watching? Not in a bad way, but I was just lost like 90% of the match. I had to go and rewatch it again and start to like connect pieces because I didn't get it the first time through.
I was in awe when I, saw it. I didn't know what to expect, but I thought it was better than the Boneyard match. It
really?
Yeah. It was just so out of like WWE's comfort zone. To put on something like that.
One of my favorite points. Go ahead.
Oh no, I mean, I just thought they experimented with a lot. I thought for once the booking was like spot on. And
it worked great. From what I heard, it was Cena, Wyatt, and Bruce Pritchard were the three, which is all you really need at that point. Don't let anybody else in. Because those three guys are gold when it comes to creating a story like that. And my favorite moment had nothing to do with in the ring. I love to describe that match. It was the greatest wrestling match that wasn't a wrestling match that I've ever seen. But my favorite moment, and I laughed out loud, was the Vince puppet going, it's such good shit.
Yeah.
And I was like, is he allowed to say that? I didn't know they did that. Okay.
Yeah, they're getting a little edgier.
But now they're selling it on a T-shirt, so somebody did something right.
That was the cherry on top of a well-booked match. I thought that was that and the Boneyard and the Last Man Standing match really carried WrestleMania through the weekend.
Well, did you get like the premise of the match and what everything was when you first watched it?
All right, let's break it down. So when I first watched it, I was just like, same thing. This is such good shit. I don't really know what the fuck's going on or what they're trying to do, but like, I didn't think it dragged on. I thought it was like weird.
It was only like 13 minutes, I think.
Yeah. It was weird. The Fiend was like really strongly booked. But then when I kind of read into it, like what's really going on here, they're like, just talking about John Cena's like career. All right. Well, before we break into it, the one thing was like, did Bray Wyatt like actually win that match, or did John Cena beat himself? That's the part I'm confused about. Like,
I mean, if you want to look at it, I think it's a little bit of both.
Okay.
If you really want to look at it, because Cena was, if you're looking at it from the mindset of a competitor, Cena basically psyched himself out, and the Fiend took advantage. But it almost reminds me, my best friend put it in perfect terms. It's like Freddy Krueger in what is that, Nightmare on Elm Street 3?
Sure. Yeah.
So it's basically having all of your worst fears go into your brain and psych you out
Yeah.
at that point. I was like, that's perfect booking if you want to look at it. So I loved the match. I was out of my mind in the very beginning. I loved seeing Cena in the NWO gear.
Yeah. No, the
You'd
best
see.
was the return of the SmackDown hand.
Dude, I loved that. And what's funny though is seeing like a 45-year-old Cena back in what he wore 20 years ago.
Yeah,
like,
with the long hair.
That doesn't look right.
But yeah, I mean, Cena couldn't touch him in that. You know, obviously it was a dimension that, you know, Bray is accustomed to and Cena's never been in before. So the odds are stacked against him.
It'd be something I'd totally want to see again. I feel like now that they've done one,
I hope he
okay
does this for all the guys that beat him over the years. Undertaker, Orton, like all those
guys.
like
do it for the big guys, but also don't do it so often that it becomes stale.
Right.
That's the only thing. It's the same thing as like if you want to do another Boneyard match.
Yeah.
Give me it maybe once a year, maybe twice at most.
Yeah.
Because then it's just gonna be the same shit every time, and it's gonna lose its luster.
No, I agree. Yeah, you definitely don't want to overuse it. So yeah, they were just kind of like going through John Cena's career, and like I guess I couldn't put together like the fact that like some of the words that they were using like during the match, like that was kind of hard to follow. Like I felt like that was a little forced, you know, like 6 years ago Cena beat Bray, and like they're just, you know, Bray's like overprivileged and overhyped or whatever, and I kind of felt the opposite, so that was kind of hard to.
We'll see. At that point, that was Cena. Yeah, that was Cena in the build. I was like, I don't know how I feel about that. But when you morphed it into what the match was,
yeah,
I thought it was perfect because it morphed over the finish.
Right, because
so
he made him eat his words.
Destiny.
Yeah, like he basically was.
If you want to get literal, he did eat his words.
Yeah, no, I do actually. And then yeah, something about like the NWO was like the heel turn that never happened for Cena type of thing.
See, and that's still something I feel like he could do. Come back to try and win a 17th world title. Let him be a heel at this point.
I don't know. I don't know if he'll ever be one.
To me, I don't think he has anything to lose at this point. He's such a made guy.
Yeah.
It's like that point in Austin's career in 2001 where he said, I need to be ahead of the crowd. Let me turn.
But that was such a failure. I'd try and pitch yeah, like, I don't know.
If it flops, it flops. You go back to a good guy. And because that's the thing with Austin. You bring it up because it was a point where you go, well, that didn't work. But it's not one of those things where you're like, well, that was terrible. We never bring this up again. Because it made some gold. Still, in one of the most shit situations, he had a great comedic chemistry with Kurt Angle to where it worked great. So Cena's a guy who, just like Austin, who can make himself one way or another, even if it turns out to be a shit idea.
Yeah, I don't know if he'll ever, you know, pull the trigger on a true heel turn. What was up with the Instagram? Did you see that?
What do you mean?
Like, go to John Cena's Instagram page. Have you seen that?
I have not. I know I saw The Undertaker made a post on Instagram, but I did not see John Cena make one.
Okay. So, yeah, go to John Cena's Instagram.
You know what's hilarious? Just not too long ago, like right in the build-up to when he came back, he followed me on Twitter out of nowhere.
Cena?
Yep.
What? That's a pretty big deal.
Yeah, I know. I was surprised.
I have like a random
see the Huskus pig, and is it a winner is you and it's the Fiend?
Yeah, so it's like John Cena's got the check mark. Yeah, you're looking at the pics, but like scroll down. Like these pics have been going on since for 6 years. So it's like really weird. Like I had no idea that.
Well, what's funny is he just started blowing up his own Instagram with pictures of Bray Wyatt like 3 days ago. From the youngest to the Fiend.
But these are all like antagonistic like posts. Like he's taken over.
But I feel like he's always been that type of a guy. Like he's always been the guy to troll everybody especially on Instagram, I've noticed. For some reason he just gets a kick out of it, I think.
Okay.
So I never really 100%, especially on Instagram. If it's Twitter, more or less, because that's normally where they'll put stuff that has to do with the storylines, I've noticed. But for him, he likes to do all of his work on Instagram, so I don't really know what anything means with him anymore.
Okay. Yeah, it's really weird, and it looks like it was like hijacked by like Bray Wyatt for like ever since he lost.
Yeah,
to
like
him
a Bray Wyatt super page.
Yeah, like these are going back to 2015. Past that.
Yeah, so, like that. The one of them looks like it was when he first went to FCW, or maybe right out of high school or college.
Yeah.
Where I don't know.
Yeah, it's really weird, but interesting.
What you think of the Brock Lesnar, Drew McIntyre?
I mean, I'm glad Drew won, and happy for him, and hopefully this ushers in a new era.
It was nice to see both the part-time guys lose their belts. It needed to be done.
Yeah, I was still a little upset that the Fiend had to drop the belt to face John Cena, and then they were going to put it on Roman Reigns, and then not knocking Roman Reigns for not competing, but
oh no,
I just feel like the Fiend is like the heel in wrestling right now, and I feel like they should just stop ruining his character with like random losses that don't make any sense. And
well, thankfully his only loss was to Goldberg, but even there I went, so you basically just put him in a match with Goldberg so that Goldberg could transition the title so that fans don't shit on the fact that he loses to Roman. I mean, they're still going to shit on the fact that he lost regardless. So
yeah, it's
like,
just,
I thought it was a little too early in the beginning to throw the title on him anyways. If you're wanting to build him up as a monster, why put the title on him? Because he's going to have to lose eventually to lose the belt.
Yeah, it's just unfortunate they don't know what to do with his character. There's so much like promising shit that they have, but I think they're in their own head. Like the Hell in the Cell made no sense.
No, my mind was blown by that because I didn't understand it. Like, I've never seen a Hell in a Cell I've seen one no contest, which is the second Hell in a Cell, and then the DQ that happened with Seth, and which they then turned to a no contest. But it made no sense.
I know. I need my wrestling to make a little more sense.
Because to me, I think their plan there was have it be a no contest, and fans weren't going to lose their minds, so then they could just move.
Yeah.
Like it fit with the Halloween theme, but fans put up such an uproar, they went, "Fuck, we got to throw the belt on this guy now." And that's where I think they screwed up, is that they were pigeonholed to put the belt on Bray when he didn't need it. I don't think that character needs a belt.
I feel like he does. Like, what is the point of being a wrestler if you're not going after the belt at the end of the day?
Well, it's not that. I think he's such a fresh character, and if you're wanting to build him up as a monster, like I said before, why put a belt on him so early into being that fresh character that you're already saying, okay, at a certain point he has to lose just so he can lose the title. Either that or he gets injured and has to vacate it. You only have two options. So you're already pigeonholing him into losing. I personally wouldn't have had him lose to Goldberg. That made him look like a chump.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that was the problem with the character for the longest time. Is like he's just been a monster that really wasn't after the belt, just more into raising some hell. But I think what made previous eras of wrestling so successful is the fact that at the end of the day,
Everybody was going after something.
yeah, like there needs to be more rhyme and reason for what the hell is going on.
That I will agree, because
Um,
sometimes it seems like they don't know what to do, and then they start and stop, and you just never know what's going on.
Yeah. But I feel like there's so many like good, fresh, new feuds that you could do. I think they should pretty much put the belt on the Fiend, like put it back on him as soon as you can, and get it going again.
I mean, now with Braun being the champion, Braun was not the initial guy. So
right. I mean, first of all, good for him for finally winning it 2 years after he probably should have.
That's what I was just about to say. They had the perfect shot probably about 2 years ago when everybody was behind him. And you picked the worst time to have him be the replacement, because he literally just shit on all independent wrestling and everything else and looks like the biggest asshole in the world.
Yeah.
I like the guy's gimmick, from what I've heard, he's a great guy personally. But in terms of what he put on social media, he looks like the biggest dick in the world.
What did he put on social media?
Basically that independent wrestling isn't needed because you're putting your body on the line. He never did it, and look where he is.
Oh, what? Like, you're huge. Like, of course you're going to go straight to the top.
Let me see if I can find it, because I know I saw it, and I said, you're crazy.
I'm going to go on a rant while you look it up.
Go for it.
So, yeah, I'd be pumped to see, like, the Fiend versus, like, a Braun Strowman, since they used to be in the same faction or whatever you want to call it. And, like, I think that would be really interesting. A Roman Reigns versus the Fiend would be some good television. I think there's a lot of fresh feuds you could do with this character, and I hope they just like keep him at the top. Like, they built him up to be so strong, and I feel like they've done an okay job like justifying his like losses and shortcomings over the years. So like, I don't know. I hope they know what they have on their hands. Like, I truly, besides Becky Lynch, like, it's the most interesting thing in wrestling right now.
See, you say that about Becky, but I've lost my luster on her too.
Oh, why?
Not her as a character. It's just her as the champion.
Because she's
I think it's
unbelievable.
her time to drop the belt. No, it's just I think she's held on to it long enough. Like I said before, at a certain point, it just looks like an accessory to her. Like, I feel like she's made that championship into something special, and now it's time to pass it off to somebody else. Now the question is she going to pass it off to Shayna, or are they going to hold off till Ronda comes back and she loses to Ronda?
Right.
Because the way they're setting it up is she's going to lose to one of them.
I don't think it'll be Shayna Baszler. I don't. Were you mad that Shayna? Were you mad that Shayna lost?
Okay, so I found the tweet.
Okay.
He says, "Here we go with more of the somebody pay my bills stuff. If you can't afford to pay your bills, maybe you should change professions. That's why I quit strongman. I loved it, but I couldn't afford to live. So instead of making a GoFundMe or a Patreon, wanting someone else to take care of me, I went out and worked harder than I ever have in my life to get where I am. What happened to being accountable for your own actions?"
What does that have to do with indie wrestling?
I genuinely don't know, but it's more of like, because I think the person who posted before was talking about because they lost their booking basically before.
Okay.
Because AEW had, I want to say, a show running this weekend, like a live show in that area just to have it go. And now everybody in any independent wrestling is losing any money they could have brought in. So I think that's more of what he's saying is, if you want to be an independent wrestler and that's paying your bills, then maybe you should find something else to do.
Okay, that's fair.
But sometimes I feel like people blow stuff out of proportion. Sometimes people do it to themselves. I feel like this is a little bit of both. He probably could have kept his mouth shut and he would be fine. And then
Yeah,
fans still blow shit out of proportion.
there's just there's too much talent and not enough championships to go around. Not enough things for everyone to do.
No, and the thing is, now they're trying to hold on to guys to not go to AEW.
Right.
Like Raw had the longest Apollo Crews match I've ever seen in my life.
That guy is such a.
He's
I
such
remember
a great
being.
hand, but
I think I remember it was like 2014.
I don't need a 15-minute Apollo
like,
Crews match.
yeah. Yeah. We'll see. I don't know.
My biggest question is, I wonder how long we have to wait to see Braun lose the belt, because if they're taking the hiatus like it sounds like they are,
yeah. He's gonna drop it to the Fiend like immediately. I feel like.
I also wouldn't be surprised if, when all of this ends, he drops it to Roman, because that was the initial plan.
I feel like Roman should maybe take a back seat and get his life in order.
I would normally say that, and I get the whole fan saying that he shoved down your throats and that he's always in the picture of the world title.
He's the absolute.
He hasn't been a world champion for what, 2-3 years?
Yeah, has it been that long? I feel like
whenever he surrendered the Universal title because of his bout with leukemia, I want to say that was.
What a slap to his face too, letting Drew McIntyre go clean over Lesnar in his first chance.
But he can't. Yeah. Well, and the thing is, they let Seth do it too.
Yeah, kind of.
Too.
Yeah.
I was like, dude, you just made Roman look like a total chump.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, the fans like who they like. They're not always going to get, whatever they want. Like, that's not what it's about.
If he keeps up what he's doing with his career, and this may be a very far ahead thing, is I could very easily see him turning into like a John Cena type, to where as this group of fan gets older, they start to respect him. Where now, like, the Cena sucks, let's go Cena is like a thing that people just do just to enjoy.
Like a Kurt Angle.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's the Kurt Angle. It's the same thing. So I already know when Cena goes in the Hall of Fame, they're pretty much probably going to chant John Cena sucks as a thank you. And I won't be surprised if at some point Roman turns into that same guy, because he's got that ability to have the crowd in the palm of his hand.
Yeah.
Whether they like him or they hate him.
But I think it's also kind of a slight. And like, no one would ever say that to The Rock or Stone Cold or any of the like true guys that like got over with the fans.
Oh no, I definitely agree with you there. But I also feel like this generation's wrestling fan is a totally different type of fan than you had in the Attitude Era.
Yeah, that's true. It is evolving.
You have everybody who thinks they're entitled to everything and that they should be the ones to make the rules with wrestling. In the 90s, because you would know this better than I am, or than I do, wrestling fans probably didn't feel that way.
I'm sorry, which way?
That, like, everything that they wanted is what should happen. They went along with what happened on TV and enjoyed it.
Right.
Now, everybody just critiques everything that occurs, whether it's good or bad. Now, sure. The brawl for all, like the Dark Side of the Ring that happened last night, the brawl for all, that's a terrible idea. Everybody will admit it.
Yeah, there was no WWE universe back then. Like, it was just kind of growing, and then once everyone realized like the fans part in it, and everyone kind of got up to
just
speed.
Like everything else, social media has taken over.
Right. Yeah, social media really making people woke in the wrestling world.
I always say, like, about myself, I'm one of those guys who looks up anything I can find on wrestling anytime. But when it comes to watching the show, I try and tune everything out and just be a fan.
Yeah.
So why do we watch wrestling then if we just want to sit there and bitch?
True. I guess I find it could just be better, in my opinion.
No, I definitely feel like at moments, like I look at Vince, and Vince is totally out of touch. I love the guy, and I love what he's done for the business, but he's totally out of touch at moments. Put Triple H in charge, and he'd be fine.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I'm pumped for the new era
time,
with Triple H and some new guys.
Yeah, definitely. But at the same time, there's no, like, everybody's ripping Charlotte winning the NXT Women's title. I get why.
I would have bet money on that.
She's
not gonna lose to fucking some no name.
She's not gonna lose, not at least right now. And also, it gives her a way to become fresh again.
Well, it also takes the belt off Rio, so she can move up to the professional. Like, that's just how they do it.
Well, and they may do that, or I could easily see them holding it off till the summer and having her win it back and then drop it to the next person. You know what I mean? But even then, if you want her to move up and then have Charlotte drop it to a newcomer, that's a way to build another talent.
Right.
And those are the things that I see Triple H do more than Vince, where Vince just goes, oh, Roman's winning the belt? Okay, yeah, I know nobody likes him, but let's just have him win the belt regardless. And he doesn't really have a plan to go along with it, I don't think, all the time.
Yeah. I was surprised Rhea didn't pass out in the figure eight.
Honestly, when I saw the finish, I didn't even think she tapped.
Yeah.
Her hands flailing.
Yeah.
And I was like,
yeah.
Tap, or was she just flailing her arms? It didn't look like a straight tap.
Yeah.
To me. So almost done the Stone Cold Bret Hart thing and had
I thought they were gonna do that, yeah, but maybe that was just too predictable, like you were saying last time, that they had to change it. I feel like they dropped the ball. This would have been maybe next year if Ronda doesn't come back. Like, they need to do a Charlotte versus Becky Lynch.
Well, honestly, with
I
the
think
way
that's
things
the biggest
are going,
match in women's right now.
Well, I could see that. But the other match that I've been hearing rumblings, and I've been seeing rumblings about it for forever, especially since Ronda came in, is the 4 Horsewomen versus the 4 Horsewomen. So Bayley, Sasha, Charlotte, and Becky versus Shayna, Ronda, and I forget the other 2 girls. The 4 main girls who went from MMA to WWE.
Good, real quick, good for Bayley.
No, see, I thought Sasha was going to win that match, but when she got eliminated, I went, okay, Bayley is going to win this, which I think is perfectly fine. They've basically been building this feud off and on for 2 years.
Yeah.
It's time to
it's time to make that happen. But no, happy that, Bayley's being booked strong. Too many times, if it's not someone that they want to get behind fully, they'll kind of book them pretty weak, especially when they're heel.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Anyway, it was just, but I hear what you're saying. I feel like we're on the brink of a new era in wrestling. I'm not sure what it's going to be called or officially how it'll look, but
heck, even the early and mid 2000s. Until they coined it the Ruthless Aggression.
Right,
I didn't
I had
have
no
a name
idea
for it either. I was just like, it's in my opinion, it was like a new generation, because it was like a workers generation in the beginning, and then morphed into the Cena generation towards the end. So it was kind of a mix of a few things. But I don't mind the Ruthless Aggression name. I could easily see this being the generation of the women's revolution, which is fine with me. They've been held down for so long with how they were booked. I'm perfectly fine seeing them take center stage.
But that was a point I wanted to make on the last podcast that I didn't. I was glad that, with how out of touch Vince is, that, he still has the wherewithal to, promote the women's division and really take it seriously and, get behind a Becky Lynch, put her out with a Stone Cold and,
Oh yeah, because that's how you build people.
Yeah.
And the one thing I will say, I brought up critiquing earlier, and I'm going to sound like a hypocrite here, but there's no reason Charlotte should be a 10 or 11 time women's champion within 6 years of being.
Oh, stop! She's probably the best women's wrestler of all time.
Well, No, I'm not disagreeing with you there, but I look at, like, if you want to put her up against her dad, basically, is the way I like to look at it. Rick had been up like 8 to 10 years before he was a 12-time world champion.
Yeah, well, she's
They flip-flopped it with her and Sasha so many times in the beginning that she had like 5 reigns before you even noticed.
No, I hear what you're saying. I couldn't think it couldn't happen to like a better character.
Oh no, I totally agree. If you're gonna have anybody be like the face of that portion, have it be.
So I had my dog peeking in the door too right before your cat went by.
No, my fiance tried to get her out of the room and she was not going, so I thought she'd be fine. But she's
That's
all
funny.
up over my computer. But no, I agree. If you're gonna have anybody be the name and face of the women's revolution, Charlotte deserves it. She's got a pedigree like nobody else. And yeah, she's been the most badass of anybody.
Yeah.
I like Sasha a lot, which I could see Sasha being like second fiddle, her and Becky. But if you're gonna have anybody to get behind Charlotte. And when they bring up new girls, like when Rhea comes up, Rhea's gonna be a star, 100%, and so is Toni Storm.
Yeah, agreed. They need some competition quick though. They're running out of it.
I definitely agree, and a lot of the other people are becoming stale if they're not already.
Yeah.
So how much of the Raw after WrestleMania did you catch?
Well, I didn't catch any of it. I read through like what happened, like
okay,
a grading
you're
Raw.
on the same boat as me. I caught a little bit, but I didn't.
But to answer your question, I was like, really? Like they put all these shit matches together on.
Well, did you see the main event?
Remind me.
Big Show versus Drew McIntyre for the world title.
Yeah.
But you know what was hilarious? They didn't book that match on the Raw.
What?
That match happened 20 minutes after Mania went and was done recording. So if you want to be technical, the Big Show just main evented WrestleMania in 2020.
Oh, okay. So Drew was already sweaty from his match with Brock, and
yeah, like he came out, he made a promo talking about thank you to the fans and all that, and Big Show came out and basically said, "You're big and bad, but you're not as big and bad as I am." And Drew was like, "Well, I'm not doing anything. I just had a match." And he got punched in the face or slapped in the face, something by Big Show. And he went, "Okay, this is the world title match now." And it just happened. And I was like, at first when I read it, I was like, why is the Big Show main eventing Raw?
Right.
Then I read that part and I went, so you're telling me he practically main evented WrestleMania with no build or anything? Like he just popped up out of nowhere.
That's a
I
guy
think it was more of a ploy to get his Netflix show up, but I'm okay with that. Like the guy's a legend at this point, and use him to build up your new guys. It just seemed very odd, but hey, he's in the Tampa area, so you might as well.
Sure, he just won't go away.
He flip-flops babyface and heel more than I change underwear. Yeah. And that's pretty bad.
Oh, God, yeah. It was painful to watch him, like, early on in the decade, and he's still there.
Well, then wasn't he just a babyface when he came back, like, 2 months ago? And now he's a heel out of nowhere?
Right.
That's the only part that confuses me. There's no build with him. It's just, hey, I'm back. I'm a good guy.
Yeah, remember me?
Hey, I'm back. I'm a bad guy.
Yeah. So now that we've kind of talked old, new generation, I was just curious if you have an idea of like who you would rank as like the top 5 or top 10 wrestlers of all time. I know we didn't really prepare to talk about this, but
okay. So my number one, and this is kind of biased because I told you I'm a Pittsburgh guy, and anybody who knows me knows I love this guy. But he was also the face starting off with the transition, Bruno.
Really?
If you're looking at anybody to morph the WWE into what it became, it was Bruno. He held the world title for almost 13 years.
Right.
So I go with him. You have to go, in my opinion, even though he's a terrible worker, with Hogan. I always go with Brett.
I'm sorry, it cut out? Was that Bret Hart?
Yes.
Okay.
And for me, I always say I go Stone Cold and I go Edge.
Wow.
What are yours?
That's your top 5?
That's my top 5. And there are a lot of guys on the tip of my tongue. If you ask me my top 10, I have a few more names. But
Yeah.
that's my top 5.
Okay. Definitely finish your top 10, actually.
Number 6 goes to Benoit. Number 7 goes to Eddie. 8 goes to Cena. It's going to sound crazy. Most people are going to think I'm crazy. 9 goes to The Rock, which is mainly because of what he's done recently. But you have to throw him in your top 10. And 10 goes to Triple H.
Okay. Interesting. Wow. I always like this debate.
It's a debate that can go on for ages. And you can flip-flop so many guys while you're thinking of it. Like, watch, you'll ask me this tomorrow or next week. Yeah. I'll have a totally different list of 10 guys.
Okay. I would have to go Stone Cold as number 1.
Okay.
I just feel like he's the pinnacle of what you want to obtain in wrestling.
I definitely don't disagree with you there.
The Rock, I feel like he's a 1A, 1B type of thing. Like it's a LeBron, Michael conversation with those two for the same reason. Number 3, I got to go Undertaker.
See, and that's a guy where very easily you can throw him anywhere. I'm surprised I didn't have him in, but
it's just
there are so many names at this point in history that literally you can make like 5 top 10s and still not be wrong.
Right. Yeah. No, yeah, with Taker, he's done it so long. Like he's been so dominant so long, and like the coolest character I think in like wrestling history. Like, after that, this one's I guess my 4 and 5 is like Hogan and Cena.
Okay.
Just because Hogan, like, he was the man, put it on the map. Like he was the first like true like guy that like started it all. So I think he does need to be in the top 5. Like the first like true superstar.
Oh, 100%.
And Cena, I feel like he has a similar career, in that they've just accomplished so much, that on sheer like accomplishment alone, plus, yeah, I would almost maybe put Cena ahead of Hogan in just the fact that like, but yeah, I mean they're kind of similar, like five moves of doom, like they're, like in the Firefly
It's the
Funhouse
same stuff
match.
no matter what.
Yeah. Outside of that, I would, let's see. I got to throw Brock Lesnar up there, to be honest.
Not a bad selection at all.
I don't think they've it's almost like your Bruno argument. Like he's just been booked so dominantly in like.
Especially he was booked dominantly in his first run up until the end.
Yeah.
And he's been booked like a monster since he came back.
The sheer accomplishment, yeah. The only asterisk I would put is like Brock Lesnar and Paul Heyman, since he doesn't have the promo ability.
Agreed. But when you have a guy like Paul Heyman in your corner, you can't.
Yeah, like the two of them combined.
Yeah, that's a 1A and 1B thing that you have to have together.
Yeah, there's an asterisk with that. Shit. Then I think you have this like tirage of like, I'm sorry, sometimes I can't think of the words, of like
You can rotate so many guys in and out.
No, it's just that like lineage of Triple H, Shawn Michaels, Ric Flair, and like Randy Orton, like those guys.
You're naming off guys because we're gonna have to make a discussion out of this next week because I'm gonna have to literally think about this and actually give you a definitive one because you're naming names where you just give me what's your top 10 off the top of your head, and it just goes and you say the first few people that come to your head that you know and you respect, and now I'm like, how did I skip Flair? How did I skip Undertaker?
Yeah.
How did I skip Shawn?
Right. So yeah, I didn't want to give you some time to prepare about it. So maybe we get you back on and have this conversation. Maybe we get a few more people.
That'd be one you could easily put into an entire podcast just on its own, do a top 10.
Yeah, we got a few more wrestling junkies on with the Goonery, so they might want to get involved with this too.
That'd be a fun one.
Since it's truly debate season and there's really nothing going on.
I was just about to say, that's about all we got.
Yeah, that's about all we got.
Time to debate top 10.
Well, listen, appreciate you coming back on.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Was there anything else that you had to get off your chest before we sign off here?
Not that I can think of. Just if you're skeptical about how Mania was, give it a shot. I wasn't sure what to think in the beginning, but it turned out to be a very good show, and especially for the circumstances. It's not the greatest WrestleMania I've ever seen, but it's also not the biggest shit show I've ever seen either. So give it a chance.
Not at all. Honestly, what pissed me off the most was the fucking announce team. Like, I will slander that team.
Yes.
It was borderline awful.
Well, and especially to me when I love Tom Phillips, but Byron Saxton is god awful, and why was JBL there? But
I love Byron and JBL, but yeah, they didn't really help.
No, they didn't. To me, the thing that threw it off so much at a lot of points was you had, like, I always look at the Edge and Orton match. That was a Raw match, but you had the SmackDown announce team announcing it.
Oh.
It didn't work. And I get that you didn't have Corey there for Raw or whatever show he announces on at this point. I don't even know. But it just didn't really work. Yeah,
it didn't. And that was too bad. I could kind of watch it like, close to mute and just kind of.
You could honestly watch a lot of that show on mute and be fine.
Yeah. I think Chris Jericho had that take, and.
Well, I mean, you kind of had to feel that anyways with no crowd.
Yeah.
Because everybody was just out of their element one way or another, and they normally feed off of the audience too.
Right.
So when you have no audience, everybody's at a disadvantage.
Yeah.
And you're also like, you're hearing all of the smack talk, but you're also hearing all of this moaning and groaning the whole match, and you're like, this is
right. Yeah, the moaning and groaning was hard at times.
Like, somebody cracked me up because I saw this on Facebook, and it went, I had to put my TV on mute during the Rhea and Charlotte match because I swear my neighborhood was going to think I had porn on.
Right. Yeah. It worked a couple times when they were like talking shit to each other, but outside of that, but yeah, and then the Boneyard match and those kind of backstage alternate reality, I thought that was kind of cool. It was almost like now we're out of the wrestling ring and we're just like in this.
Well, and to me the best part was about the two nights was that I feel like both of those would have been a lot in one night had it been like just on the 5th.
Yeah.
So to split that up over 2 days, it added anticipation to the Firefly Funhouse match, but it also allowed for everybody to take a break and admire both matches on their own.
Yeah, 100% agree. Collin Sturchio, everyone. Thanks for joining us.